Old man is fired after being diagnosed with Parkinson's. You won't believe what happened next. Grandpa, look at my castle! Benjamin's young grandson Liam called out from the sandbox Benjamin built years ago in his yard when his first grandchild Angie was born. Normally, he would cheer and congratulate his grandkid for making a sandcastle, but today was different. Benjamin was feeling sad and felt drained of energy. "That's great, kid," he replied loudly but emotionlessly. He was thinking of the future and what it might entail for him and the rest of his family. He raised his hand for the millionth time in the last year and saw them shaking. They wouldn't move to his commands like they used to, and now the realities of his disease were even more glaring. He had used his hands for decades at his job as a furniture assembler. He was the best on staff and was even responsible for some of the most intricate designs in wood carving. However, after being diagnosed with Parkinson's, he stepped back from wood carving, focusing on assembling. Unfortunately, that also became harder, and eventually his boss, Mr. Signor, found out. He had to tell him the truth. "Why don't you retire, Ben? It's time. You're the right age. We'll miss you, but maybe it's time to rest, get treated, and enjoy your golden years," his boss suggested kindly. "I can't, Mr. Signor. I have some treatments coming up, and that's going to be so expensive. I need the money." He shook his head. Mr. Signor pursed his lips but nodded. "Okay, but let's make sure nothing goes amiss, okay? Be careful," he told Benjamin, who nodded eagerly. Sadly, the situation with his hands worsened, and eventually he couldn't assemble anything. Mr. Signor tried to justify things to his higher-ups, but a decision was made some months later, and Benjamin was fired for not being able to fulfill his regular duties. Now he was home 3 hours after his boss informed him of the news. His wife Angie came out and asked him to watch 4-year-old Liam, who wanted to play in the sandbox. Therefore, he just sat on the porch looking after the kid and wondering how he would tell her about losing his job. But before he could sink into shame and worry for his future, he saw a truck pull up his street and park right in front of his house in an Oklahoma neighborhood. Suddenly, Eric and Franklin got out and he smiled widely. The kids were in their 40s now, but decades ago they were newbies in the furniture world. Benjamin taught them everything they knew, and soon enough they outdid him and quit to pursue their own dreams. Last he heard, they had a competing company and were doing very well for themselves. "Mr. Jones!" Eric shouted, his arms open wide. Franklin smiled and waved as they walked up the path to his porch. Benjamin smiled in return and stood up unsteadily, holding his cane as best he could. He could still walk and stand, but sometimes his kids insisted on the cane. "Guys, it's so nice to see you," he told them warmly. "Mr. Jones, don't stand. Sit, Franklin said, his arms up as if to catch the older man. But Benjamin wouldn't lose face like that in front of his former protégés. He shook their hands and invited them to sit down. The men chatted about nothing for several minutes until Eric cleared his throat and started talking. "Mr. Jones, let's cut to the chase. We're here because we heard you got fired, and I think that's crazy," he started, shaking his head. "Yeah, how could they after so many years? Where's the loyalty?" Franklin agreed. "You heard? It just happened a few hours ago," the old man sighed. "But boys, did you also hear about my disease? It's bad. My hands don't work like they used to. They really didn't have a choice." "We heard, but still seems illegal," Franklin answered, concern on his face. "Well, it's life. We're all going the same place at some point," Benjamin added, nodding sagely. "That might be true, but not today. You're still the brilliant furniture maker that taught me everything, right?" Eric asked. "I guess," Benjamin said, puzzled. "How about coming with us? Join our team and be a supervisor and work on the project you can. We know you can do it," Franklin suggested, and Benjamin's brows went up. "Are you sure?" he asked him in complete shock. 100%, Eric added, nodding eagerly. Benjamin's heart pounded at the offer and his lips tightened as he held his emotions inside. "Yes," he breathed, and the younger man smiled. "Okay, we'll see you bright and early tomorrow, Mr. Jones," Eric added as they started leaving. "Won't you stay for dinner?" Benjamin offered. "We can. We have a business dinner today, but maybe some other time," Franklin excused. "Oh, and by the way, as a supervisor, you're going to earn much more than before, but we'll discuss that tomorrow." The men smiled one more time and finally left. "Liam, let's go find Grandma," he called out, and his grandkid jumped out of the sandbox, quickly coming up to the porch. Benjamin sing-sang as he entered the house. "Angie, I have something to tell you." Benjamin worked for 10 years in Eric and Franklin's company before finally retiring on his own terms. But he made triple the salary he did before, and his responsibilities included training other employees, coming up with new ideas, and directing the production. He felt valuable, appreciated, and satisfied.